let's go to the next part here, which is something that, look, it's rumor. We want to be very clear here. That being said, there are now some credible thought to the fact that Vladimir Putin could actually be quite ill right now, or at the very least in some sort of recovery. So let's put this up there on the screen. This is from a FSB spy who says that Putin has been given 3 years to live by doctors due to a, quote, rapidly progressing cancer, that the strongman has been ailing, that he has been of ill health for some time. Now, the FSB officer said that the Russian president's condition had a severe form of this progressing cancer, and that this kind of illness was something that was part of a secret message from a Russian agent to a fugitive and former FSB agent, Boris Karchapov. Look, there are types of these rumors that are always out there, but there has been a lot of speculation here in the last couple of years of, well, what the hell is wrong with Putin? I mean, clearly his mind, he's thinking very differently than he did previously. He's taking gambles. These could be, he's got very puffy cheeks, which people have looked at as possibly he's on prednisone or he's on some other sort of like hormone or steroid. Something else is going on there. And I think that combining it actually with a recent interview that Oliver Stone, no matter what you think of Oliver Stone, he did spend a lot of time with Putin, the Putin Diaries, and driving around with him in a car while interviewing. He actually revealed in a recent interview with Lex Friedman, again, per Oliver Stone, he says that Putin actually had cancer and was in treatment for it while he was over there a couple of years ago. Let's take a listen.
Mr. Putin has had this cancer, and I think he's licked it, but he's also been isolated because of COVID. And some people would argue that the isolation from normal activity, which he was meeting people face to face, but all of a sudden he was meeting people across the table 100 yards away or whatever, 10 yards away. It was very hard.
So here's the thing. What Stone is saying there very clearly is that Putin has at some time had cancer. He doesn't know if he overcame it. And I think, look, to be clear, Russia denies all of this. Of course, they have an incentive to deny it. I don't think anybody can look at Putin, his behavior, you know, at the long tables, very odd behavior, 2 years.
Yeah, there have been some physical tics that have been picked up on camera, which have been speculated about.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider this, look, like Putin was the strong man. You know, a lot of Russians didn't even want to get the vaccine. So for Putin to be kind of a COVID obsessive is very out of character for kind of the way that he would want to play it. Everybody knows what's happening whenever he's here and then another guy is like 20 feet away from him, or his generals and others are seated in a massive room, you know, 20 some odd feet away from him. All of his speeches he's giving from his office, you know, at his desk, not in front of a lot of people. He's not around people. He's clearly inside of a COVID bubble, well past where the general population of almost any other country in the world is. No, the idea that he would have some sort of immunocompromised disease makes a lot of sense. Oliver Stone says he did have cancer, at least in some form, while he was over there.
And Stone, listen, people could certainly accuse him of being too pro-Russia, but I mean, that's part of why he's kind of credible on this, because not only did he spend
He was with him.
Yeah, he spent time with Putin, and he certainly has not been interested in, like, painting Putin in the worst light. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he says that Putin, he says, I think he licked it. Right, but he doesn't know. And this was 2015 to 17. But then you also consider that cancer, you know, especially at the age, Putin is 69 years old, has a high, you know, they can go in remission, but it can come back often. That's very common amongst cancer survivors. So anyway, it would make sense that this is certainly the case.
Yeah.
And I think it is something that we do have to consider in terms of when we think about how much of a disaster, you know, the invasion really has been for Russia. But also what scares the hell out of me is who comes next. I mean, is it Medvedev? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of reports that they thought he was too much of a Europhile.
I think that's a really important point because I'm not big on the like Putin psychoanalysis.
Right.
There's like a whole cottage industry of predicting what he's thinking and what he's feeling like and all this stuff. I mean, number one, though, you have to think that someone at the end of their life, they're playing for their legacy, right? Wants to leave his lasting mark, set Russia up for whatever future greatness he, imagined might be possible for the country. But then number two, that's the real question, is who would come next? And there, I think, is a lot of wish casting in the Western media that, it might be someone who's like more favorable or more, more of a Europhile, more favorable towards NATO, more favorable towards our interests. It's more likely that you get someone who's even more of a hardliner than Putin actually is. So that's not necessarily something to ultimately hope for and wish for.
Right, and actually, so I forgot to add this part, which I have in my notes, which is that the head of Ukrainian intelligence has actually said this too, Cyril Budanov. He has said that, again, they have an incentive, but they have come out and said they believe that he has, quote, several serious illnesses, one of which is cancer. And so the FSB spy and others that are being quoted here by the Daily Mail and by the tabloids in the UK, it's all kind of an amalgam of several people who might know, who say that Putin does have some form of cancer and possibly even terminal. And if you do consider then his medical history there, who has been said by Oliver Stone, these things are difficult to go and parse, but people have done the same with North Korea. Obviously, with Kim Jong-il, there was a lot of discussion around the disease that he had. Same with Kim Jong-un, whether he has gout. He's tremendously obese and he was losing weight. This stuff all matters whenever you're the head and the sole person of a nuclear-armed state, and that's exactly why I think we're spending some time on it. So,
Indeed.
There you go.
Indeed. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.